Hey, welcome to the Growth Hack Franchise Marketing Unleashed. I'm your host, Marcus, founder of AdCloud, and today we're digging into a topic that might step on some toes, but in a good way. Should you stop posting on social media and just run ads? If you're posting content every day and still not growing, we're going to talk about why that might be and what paid ads can do that posting alone can't. As always, I'm joined by our creative director, Mackenzie, who's here to ask the tough questions.
Right, Marcus. I know that you're not exactly what I would call the content king, right? You hardly, from a personal side, you hardly ever post on your Instagram. I think I see you post what, maybe one story a year, and it's usually about your wife. And
It's usually something very
exactly,
funny about
I
me.
look forward to that one post a year because it's always really good. But
Speaking of that, we were just at a wedding and there was a train going by with about 1,000 Amazon crates. And I'm telling you, at least half of those were Kayla's.
okay, so clearly, like I said, from a personal side, you're not big on social media. So I have to ask, coming from someone who clearly isn't glued to social, do you think that posting is actually necessary for business growth, or can you skip that altogether and just run ads?
It's funny because I get asked that a lot, especially from our clients. I think what people do a lot now we're not talking about trying to create viral content and do all those things. I think there is a benefit when you leverage social media posting to educate the consumer quickly and efficiently. One of the most underused things on social is creating and reposting reviews about your business or service. We do that a lot for our clients that we manage, and it creates such a great social proof. But most people are like, well, they left it on Google Business or they have it on the website. No one's going there to read it. No one cares. No one cares enough to scroll down and find the reviews. But what do? They come and look at your feed. And if they see that, hey, Jane Doe is saying that this place is the best thing since sliced bread, right? Then they're like, oh, well, maybe I'm Jane Doe. Maybe I want to be her, right? Like the FOMO kicks in. And then if you start to do that and have that posting once a week or periodically, now they're saying, oh, well, there's 5 people that really enjoy this. I should give it a try. But almost every business that we work with has yet to put that into place. Sometimes they'll post it in their story, which then expires and it's gone, but they're not building it into the feed because they don't want to have to spend the time designing it. Now, I'm not just saying go copy the text and paste it into the feed. You have to design it out and make the feed look good. I would do that before you even try to create pretty pictures and just get the social proof in front of people where they are. We have to really think about these platforms as entertainment and education. And with education, I think to back that up, most people, other than those with old souls, right, are getting their news from Instagram. Right? They're not watching the news anymore. They're not turning that on. Like whatever Instagram says is truth. It's Bible. Like that is your kind of go-to. It is a source of education. Instagram is the new search engine right now. Now, I think ChatGPT and things are vastly kind of becoming the most common. And I think the integration of AI into our phones is becoming the go-to versus potentially social media. I don't think Google will ever go away, Google search, but I do think it'll see a depletion in traffic because I think people will be searching AI and it'll be directing them to platforms, X, I said Twitter, it shows you how old I am, X or Instagram based on the content that lives there and the amount of volume of traffic. And so you have to start to think, okay, all the content I post, I want to be educational. Now, that doesn't mean like long form boring. It's such a fine line to find that barrier of educational and entertaining. And that's like I struggle personally because I'm very intentional, right? In the things I do and intentional in things that I say to a certain extent. And so I find it hard to just word vomit out and be like, hey, yeah, look, I just ate a carrot today. Like for you, you could be like, hey, I've eaten 6 gallons of hummus this week. Clap you on. But for me, I find that hard. So then the fun side of me can always find some type of joke at least once a year that I feel like is worthy of posting or sharing. So I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it should be your number one all time focus unless that's your brand, right? If you've become successful by becoming viral and doing backflips off of houses or something, I'm not talking to you. You should post that all day. You should hang out on TikTok. You should do all those things. But if you are a small business owner, if you are a brick and mortar or something in that nature, the quality of that content, be intentional with how is it going to benefit the end user? what will they benefit from that? And then what is that call to action, if any? And that doesn't mean that every post has to have a call to action. Sometimes you can just give it away for free and just not ask. I feel like everyone feels like they have to end a caption a lot of times with like, "Hey, come get this, come grab it." Sometimes just give it away for free, but no strings attached. Like, we love you. We just want to say these are the benefits. Try doing this, take this vitamin, whatever that product or service is, and we hope to see you on the other side, right? Like, just keep it that plain and simple.
So obviously you mentioned like for stuff in your feed needs to be very specific to the brand, kind of keep that person focused on what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to book appointments for. So what is the difference between what you're posting in your feed as opposed to what you're running for ads? Is it the same content? Is it different content? How do you go about that?
When you think about ads, they are very pointed towards an end goal, unless you're running engagement ads and things in that nature where you're just getting likes. But people expect that when they're seeing ads, they're being sold something. And because you're putting dollars behind it, there needs to be ROI somewhere down the line. Unless you just have an unlimited amount of money and you just want to run ads for the sake of running ads, you have to make sure that there is an ROI attached to that, where if we spend 1,500, we're getting 3,500, $4,000 back. And so ads are going to be focused around what it is, what the offer is, and what are the benefits. Now, you might be running, so a lot of times we'll run what we call awareness ads, and those are solely focused on education. We're not asking for anything. It's a small budget. We'll spend like $3 a day on awareness ads in a 15-mile radius. And all it is on education, the benefits of red light therapy, right? Where the location is, there's no call to action. You can obviously like the post, you can come and like the page, you can check out the website, but we're not saying, hey, come get this offer. And that is just because we want to educate that radius, where we are, what we do, how it benefits you. But then on our what we call conversion ads, that is where we are honed in and focused on buy the service, buy the product. We're still educating, but we are asking you to take a step to let us know your intent. Are you interested at all? A lot of times we will retarget the awareness traffic. So people who engage with the awareness campaign, and then they will end up in our conversion ad audience. And now we're showing them saying, hey, we recognize that you're interested. Here's an offer for you. Come and give us a try. And that works really well when people don't feel like they're being sold to right up front. So there's ways to kind of leverage both of those. Now, if you're doing your organic feed, you can in Meta Ads Manager, right? A lot of times you'll find a much better conversion rate. So they're somewhat intertwined. Again, I don't think you can say, hey, don't ever social post. You don't have to do that anymore. I think it's more so make it very clear. We talked about landing pages, very clear what they're coming to read so that they can see that in the feed and follow this kind of journey all the way down versus just posting nonsense to post. And I think a lot of people do that because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to come up with 2, 3 posts a week and design those out. And what are you going to say about it? And how do you not be repetitive? So a lot of people just go the easy route and they just throw it up there and they're like, yeah, at least we're posting something, right?
So it almost seems like, and I know like personally, I almost think of the social media feed as you either go there before or after you've booked something. Let's just use lashes, for example. If I'm thinking about getting lashes, I might go to the Instagram just to kind of get an idea. What do they offer? What's it going to look like? What can I expect from an appointment? But I'm not necessarily going to book from social. And I think it could be the same thing of like after I've booked, okay, now I want to go learn more. Do you think that's a pretty typical mindset of like kind of don't think of social as actual getting bookings? It's more of that like educational. Is that the right thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a big reason why we do the review posting, because when people book, naturally, I think you have a habit of saying, okay, I'm going to go and check out this page and see what else they're saying, see what they're posting, see what the service looks like. And so, again, what you used to go to your websites for, you now go to Instagram. And that becomes your source of truth, your source of social proof, where they're going and they're saying, okay, cool, I see this. And oh, this looks really good. I think naturally there is, especially from an ads perspective, because that's the first time they've engaged. When you think about it, you're on social media, right? You're just scrolling, you see this ad, you click on it. And when you're in that experience, what you're not going to do is click out of that and go check out the feed and then decide. You're going to see that and say, okay, fill out this form. Cool. Okay, I'm going to do that now because I'm here. Now that I've filled out the form, I'm going to go and check out the brand. I liked what I saw. I'm interested, but now I'm going to go check it out and make sure I still want to keep my appointment. I think that is where most brands like think, oh, well, they're going to do that. And then they're going to go to the website. And most people don't do that. As a matter of fact, in our lead form campaigns, we have started there. So to explain it, when you get to the end of a lead form campaign, which is in Meta, so you click on an ad, it opens a Meta lead form. You go through at the very end, after you've submitted your info, there's a button and you can link that anywhere. And traditionally, you would say view website and it links to the website. We've started linking it back to the Instagram profile because then it puts them right back into that experience. They're on Instagram. We're not sending them off somewhere else. And I think it works really, really great because we know that our brands have that social proof. They have the reviews there. They have all those types of things there. They can find your site if they want to navigate. It's in the bio. We really try to keep everything there. And I think that's why brands have to really focus on what content is being posted and how it's being utilized and how people are partaking to it. And then also looking at the data and tracking and seeing what's getting the most engagement. What are people interacting with? What are people commenting on? What's getting the most views? And I say that a little bit with reverence because views are not everything. I would rather you have a post with a fair amount of likes and maybe lower views than one with high views and no engagement. And so look at those things and that can guide future creation of saying this is what really works. Historically, we see our review based posts do really well. And that's why we started to roll that out across the board because we believe that they are doing that lead form, they're coming back, seeing that, and that is solidifying to them that this is worth my time and I should try it out.
So, what's the biggest difference that you see in return when someone shifts from just posting content, not running ads, to then when they actually start running real campaigns?
Yeah, I think on that, we see two things. We see on service based, we see less cancellations, and that's half the battle. Cancellations and no shows. One of my biggest pet peeves is people who just no show. But it's not that hard to cancel your appointment. And I think for anyone here that has been in the service industry, you understand what it's like to sit around and wait around for an appointment that's just not going to show. But for majority, I think the reason you are canceling is because you haven't been educated enough or you haven't had enough social proof for you to mentally continue your buy-in and say, I have to get there. I have to give this a try. It has to be like that. Because if it's just you're wishy-washy and you're like, I think it could be cool, but I haven't really seen anything to back that up. If something else more important comes up, you're like, oh, I'd rather do that than this. And we want people to be like so bought in before they even walk in the door that you have practically already sold a membership before they've come in. You can do that in a good way. And what we see is that it just drives a lot more return. It drives more recommendations from current customers, things in that nature. And that is why we really try to intertwine the things and just focus on it. You also have to understand from an agency side, we don't have a lot of control over main sites unless we build them. So, but Instagram accounts, we have a lot of control over that we manage. So it's much easier to navigate through that content and test those things that we can't test on a primary website.
So, I know from personal experience and with, talking to business owners, content burnout is so real. I know that you've worked with many different business owners who are tired of just posting nonstop because let's face it, most business owners and franchise owners are not looking to be content creators or go viral with their videos. So what's the first thing you tell someone who feels like they're doing everything in terms of posting to social media and not getting any results?
I would go back to looking at the data, understanding if any of the content you posted in the past 6 months has connected with your audience. And Meta's made it really easy. And that's always, I think, my biggest pet peeve. We live in a world where you can understand what your audience split is, male versus female, where they live, what their interests are, all of those things. And now take that data. Here's a hack for you. Take all that data. You can screenshot it, you can write it down, not physically, but type it in and put it into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, here's my Instagram stats. Here's my audience. Can you help me come up with a good content plan that would connect with my audience based on these stats. And it will help guide you. It's not going to do all the work, but it can help guide you into what content might connect with them. If you go in and you're like, hey, it's 80% female and 20% male, there's obviously a split there. And depending on what you've been posting, hone in on that 80%. Forget the other 20. Who cares? If you get one guy to buy in the next year, that's fantastic. But who really, like, we'd rather have the 80%. But the data is at everyone's fingertips. They just won't take the time to look at it and try to understand it. Now, if you go and you have 5 pieces of content that were just really good that had engagement, now you need to look at it and say, okay, what is the difference? What's the difference between that and everything else that you were posting? That is where you can start to say, okay, well, I should do carousel posts versus X, or maybe it's shorter videos. All of those things kind of play a part in what your strategy should be. It doesn't matter if we're talking about social media, bottom of the funnel, top of the funnel, running ads, managing staff and employees and metrics, and all of those things. The data will tell you everything you need to know, and whether it's good, bad, if there is a path forward, or if it's a stopping point. And that's where I think if you start with data, every decision you make becomes a lot easier. And I think you'll have a lot more peace of mind about the decisions you're making based on that versus just using your opinion and an entrepreneurial grit to hopefully get it right.
So, for someone that's listening, that's maybe trying to DIY their marketing, would you tell them to be spending more time to be working on their grid and social posting, or should they be spending more time on learning how to run ads? Obviously, I know business owners just don't have a lot of time to spare.
Yeah.
What should they be spending their time on?
I think that if you're a business owner and you feel like you don't have a lot of time to spare and you've been running ads yourself, you should be exploring bringing someone in to manage that. If you hire a proper agency, they're going to look at all of they should be looking at all of those things, not just how their ads are performing, but how your social is performing and how that's affecting back by traffic. But if you are like, "Yeah, I can't afford it and this just is what it is," I think you need to look at, okay, if your campaigns are performing, your ad campaigns are performing, great. Don't just settle for that. How do you amplify that? Optimize your grid, optimize your social content, your SEO, firing off, your organic traffic, your Google paid search, your social paid search, your feeds. When all of those work together, the possibilities are limitless. But if you're just like, hey, ads are working, you better be prepared to spend money in ads the rest of your life because you're going to live and die by that. What you are doing is you are weighting the success of your business on assuming that Meta and Google are going to be around for the next 50 years. Because guess what? In 25 years, if they say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore, or ads are going to become more expensive, or because of AI, or you've got to go learn another platform. You're not the expert anymore. You don't have that much experience. And now your business is going to fluctuate based on market potential and what's happening in the market. And we see that when we go with seasonality into like the winter time, everything gets expensive. And if you are solely reliant on paid advertising and you haven't built up a good SEO and organic search and you don't have those things, now it's like, hey, you've got to spend $1,000, $2,000 more to compete because the digital real estate is filling up because everyone's out there promoting their turkey hack or whatever it is, you know. So everyone's out there promoting their product. And so if you're posting constantly and still struggling to grow, it might be time to change the game. Ads aren't just an upgrade, they're a strategy. Thanks for listening to the Growth Hack Franchise Marketing Unleashed. If this episode helped clear things up, hit follow, leave us a review, and share it with someone who's stuck in content mode without conversions. We'll catch you next week.